New money goal. Who dis? Hey friends! So today I have a very exciting video for you. More than any other question, I think, since I've gotten out of debt, I have been asked, are you moving on to baby step 3? What amount are you going to save for baby step 3? And how long do you think it's going to take you? Oh yeah, and how are you going to determine what your baby step 3 goal is? I might answer all of them for you because I aim to please. So let's just take a quick look at my old debt-free chart where I paid off over $32,000 over 3 years. It's lovely. It hung out with me for a long, long time. Let's look at my new money chart. And it's not going to take that long to fill in. So, my new money goal is $10,000 for my baby step 3 emergency fund, which is your fully funded emergency fund. So if you're unfamiliar with the Dave Ramsey baby steps, baby step 1 is to save a $1,000 emergency fund before you start paying off your debt, just in case something happens, because something will happen and you don't want to get completely off track and have to start getting back into debt again. Baby step 2 is pay off all of your debts, smallest to largest, regardless of interest rate. And baby step 3 is save 3 to 6 months worth of expenses in an emergency fund as a buffer against the world and for anything that might happen to you. So everyone's baby step 3 is going to look different regarding their income, regarding how stable their job is, with attention to how many children they have and how many people they might need to support, or if they might have to move for a new job, should they need one. If you have medical insurance, your emergency fund may change. All of these factors need to be taken into account when considering how much money you would need if you suddenly didn't have a job or couldn't work for 3 to 6 months. Now, I chose to go to the high end of the side, and I've always planned to have 6 months worth of money in my fully funded emergency fund. Why? Because before I moved to Texas, I was a journalist, and journalism is a very unsteady job field. Papers get purchased, people get laid off. It's just not a secure job environment. That said, I now have a job working at Texas A&M University, which is a fairly stable job. Most of the people I'm working with have worked there for upwards of a decade or around a decade, and it is a much more stable situation. I'm also fairly new there still. So it would probably be fine if I had less of a giant emergency fund and moved on to baby steps 4, 5, 6, and 7, but my security glands still hanging out back there, pulsing in my head from that time I was unemployed and had to start this entire process. So I want a big old emergency fund. I want a big, juicy emergency fund. I ain't afraid to say it. So $10,000, other than being just a nice big round number, how did I come to that conclusions? Well, I have a formula for this, and I've already done a video on it. I did a video not too long ago called How to Make an Emergency Budget / How to Make an Emergency Plan. And I went through the entire process of showing you how to make a budget that you could live off of if all of a sudden you didn't have income anymore, with the sole intention of you knowing exactly how much money you needed to get by month to month. So in your emergency budget, you aren't spending money on restaurants. You aren't saving anything. You aren't doing anything except maintaining your 4 walls and trying to get back on your feet. So because I already have this plan in place to figure out exactly how much money I would need to live on, I took my budget for this month, June of 2017, and then I made a copy of it. And then I cut out all savings, I cut out all sinking funds, I cut down restaurant and personal spending, and I pretty much figured out how much money I would need to live off of should I suddenly no longer have a job, and how much I would need to get by during that month to eat, to clothe myself, to keep a roof over my and Rory's head, and for puppy food, of course, because that's essential. The number that I came up with that I would need per month to live off of on an emergency budget was about $1,500. That includes all four walls, a little bit of breathing room, but it would be an emergency budget, which is why I rounded up a little bit. Because if you've already done the math, 6 months times $1,500 is only $9,000. But a $9,000 fully funded emergency fund doesn't sound quite as good as a $10,000 emergency fund to me, so that's what I'm going with. Also, because my emergency budget is very restrictive, and perhaps if I ever needed to use this fully funded emergency fund, it might not be due to an emergency. I might want to relax it just a little bit, so $10,000 is what I am shooting for. So of course, how long is it going to take me to save this up? Now, I've talked about this a little bit before on the channel, but because I've been on such a strict budget for so long, there have been some categories that I've kind of neglected. For instance, having a very healthy car repair replace fund in case my little red car goes out. I also am planning on doing some traveling and enjoying a little bit of money now that I am out of debt and have a little bit more to play with. I definitely want to beef up some of my sinking funds and some of my regular savings outside of my fully funded emergency fund, but I do want to hit this pretty hard. I don't want to be one of those people that it takes them years to get baby step 3 done. It took me years to get baby step 2 done, and I'm ready to move on. So I was kind of hoping I might be able to figure out a plan where I could have it done by my 30th birthday in January of next year, but that's a little tight. So I am hoping 7 to 8 months from now, which puts it in about February, March of 2018. I am hoping that I will have a fully funded emergency fund of $10,000. So I think that would be pretty cool. Now, here's a question I get sometimes. Is your baby step 1 a part of your fully funded emergency fund? And the answer is yes. Your baby step 1 starter emergency fund is really just a starter for your fully funded emergency fund. So my very first entry onto this is money that I already have in the bank. Now, some of you guys know, if you've been on my channel for a long time, I didn't do a $1,000 emergency fund. I did a $2,000 emergency fund, and that is just because of my situation. I was in a very unsteady job. I had a really bad car at the time, and I actually had called into the Dave Ramsey show and asked the man himself if a single person without a lot of family might want a slightly bigger emergency fund, and he said yes, because he's a reasonable man, and you can alter things just a little bit as long as they make sense, and you're not just trying to be stubborn. So I have $2,000 in the bank and have most of this time for my emergency fund. I also have about $187 in there on top of that, including some interest that is accumulated on that money because I never touch my emergency fund, and a little bit of money that I had left over at the end of last month after I finished paying off my debt. So the rest of that money I went ahead and put towards baby step 3. So I get to fill in this chart up to right below the $2,200 mark. By the way, I got this chart at debtfreecharts.blogspot.com. I will link it below. All of these charts are free. It's a really cool blog, and they really help you stay motivated. So both of these are on my fridge, and I'm about to color this in. So I would love to hear from you guys about how long you think it'll actually take me to save up my baby step 3 emergency fund. You going over? You going under? What are we doing here? And what your plans are for baby step 3. Have you thought about it yet? I've kind of had it. I didn't have a specific number set, but $10,000 has kind of always been in the back of my brain, just like, that'd be real nice. So I think that will sate my security gland a whole lot, and I will sleep a lot better at night knowing that I have $10,000 worth of stuff happens funds in the bank in case the world comes after me. And I know that sounds pessimistic, but stuff happens. That's why you're supposed to have an emergency fund. And I swear I sleep better now that I have not only my baby emergency fund, but I'm debt free, and just even thinking about having a fully funded emergency fund in the bank. So let's color this sucker in. Well, I think that's a pretty good start to my 6-month emergency fund. If you guys want, and if you're interested, and if you'll tell me below, maybe I can color this in with you guys every month on the way. I know I didn't do that here because it was often kind of nickel and diming, but I think this one's going to move a little faster.